Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Allahu Rabbu Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wa sallama. Nahnu ibadu Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wa sallama. Raditu billahi rabba wa bil islami deena wa bi Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam rasulan wa nabiyya. उस गली का गधा हूँ मैं जिसमें मांगते ताजदार फिरते हैं, जो तेरे दर से यार फिरते हैं, दर बदर यूं ख्वार फिरते हैं। उन्हें जाना उन्हें माना, ना रखा गैर से काम, लिल्लाहिल हम्द में दुनिया से मुसलमान गया। और फ़त्ह बाबे नबूवत पे बेहद दुरूद, ख़त्म दौरे रिसालत पे लाखों सलाम। Honorable and respectable warithin of the Anbiya, Ulama-e Haqqa, elders, brothers in Islam, lovable youngsters, those who are present at this moment in time in Masjid-e-Hada, or those who are watching live at this moment in time on social media. Shukr hai fir. To each and every one of you, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's an absolute pleasure and privilege once again to be here in Jami Masjid Naqshbandiya Aslamiyya in Bordesley Green on the invitation of the Intizamiya, bil khusus my dear brother Hassan Tayyib, and of course with the ijazat and permission of the A'imma Hazrat, bil khusus the Imam al-Khatib of Masjid-e-Hada, Muhtaramul Maqam Izzat Ma'ab Hazrat Allama Peer Najibur Rahman Sahib दामत बरकातुहुल आलिया वल कुद्सिया, और हज़रत अल्लामा सुफियान तारिक साहिब ज़ीदा शरफुहु. The last time I was here just over 2 months ago, it was on the occasion of Mawlidun Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallama, or bil khusus in relation to Aqidah Khatm Nubuwwat. And upon the request of the aforementioned, and as you've already heard before me, the purpose for our gathering this evening in the house of Allah Almighty is to pay tribute to the most superior human being after the messengers and the prophets of Allah alayhimus salam, Imam al-Sahaba, Tajdar Sadaqat, Afdalul Bashar, Ba'd al-Anbiya bit-Tahqiq, Yar Ghar, Yar Mazar, Sayyiduna wa Maulana wa Khayruna Abu Bakr Siddiq Radi Allah ta'ala anhu. और इसी तरीके से paying tribute to one of the greatest scholars of our lifetime, a true servant of Maslake Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah and Fikr Raza, Marhum Mufti Suleiman Rizvi Sahib, Rahmatullahi Ta'ala alayhi. May Allah Almighty Jalla wa Ala continuously raise their darajat in the Akhirah. Ameen. Grant them the highest maqam in Jannatul Firdaus and allow us to benefit from their fuyuz wa barakat. I didn't have the honor and pleasure of spending the time that you as a masjid or as a family did with them. I only met them the once in Bradford last year Ramadan. And as we've heard, an individual who not only embodied knowledge, but was an embodiment of patience and humility as well. Unme sabr vi si aur ajizi vi si. And they sat throughout my bayan, albeit it was more of a bashing session against the fitnas of our time, bil khusus in Bradford at that time. But khair si, I have just under an hour or so. I don't wish to take too much of your time. And in the time that I have, I want to touch upon three aspects of today's main discussion. How many aspects? Three. Saat deso ta mazad si tab kuch yaad bhi rakso. How many aspects? Three. Number one, first and foremost, we will touch upon some aspects of the life and biography of Sayyiduna wa Maulana wa Khairuna Abu Bakr Siddiq Radi Allah anhu. The second aspect of this evening's discussion will be in relation to the manaqib and fada'il of Sayyiduna wa Maulana wa Khairuna Abu Bakr Siddiq Radiyallahu Ta'ala anhu. And the third aspect of our discussion this evening will be in relation to one of the fundamental tenets and hallmarks of Aqidah Ahli Sunnati wal Jama'ah, which is to firmly believe and acknowledge that outright superiority, afdaliyate mutlaqa, is with none other than Sayyiduna wa Maulana wa Khairuna Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And inshallah, the afdaliyate mutlaqa of Sayyiduna Abu Bakr Siddiq in the time that we have will be established from riwayat from Sahih al-Bukhari. Sahih al-Bukhari. So these are the three aspects of our discussion this evening. Before we delve into them, three aspects. The words of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which we find in Kanzul Ummal. Kanzul Ummal, and I shared this narration on my Facebook this afternoon as well. Hadith Sharif number 32,590. Huzur ke alfaz, tawajjuh se suno, that hubbu Abi Bakrin wa shukruhu wajibun ala ummati. Subhanallah. Iska tarjama and the translation of these words, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, love for Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu and to thank him, to do shukr to him, is necessary, wajib upon my nation, my ummah. Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq ke saath mahabbat karna और उनका शुक्र करना ये इस उम्मत पर लाजिम है, वाजिब है, लाजिम है और वाजिब है. ये किसके अल्फाजन? हुजूर के और सरकार के अल्फाजन सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम. So one can only love someone and one can only express gratitude to that individual when we know something about their life. Would you agree? Bolo na? Huh? मोहब्बत का दावा करने आ, लेकिन जे कोई असा को सवाल पूछा है, हाँ जी बाओ, you claim to love the Sahaba, tell me something about them. You claim to love the Ahlul Bayt Athhar, tell me something about them. When it comes to our claims of love for the people of the dunya, फिर तो पूरी पूरी रात बैठे रहने हैं जी. When it comes to pop stars and movie stars and celebrities and sports personalities, but when it comes to Pakane Ummat, when it comes to these nufus qudsiyat, खल्क से औलिया, औलिया से रसूल, और रसूलों से आला हमारा नबी, फिर आई एम सॉरी टू से खास तौर नौजवान तबके में we have little to no knowledge. We have little to no knowledge. This is why again I applaud and salute the इंतज़ामिया of this masjid. इस पुरफितन दौर में, खास तौर इस मुल्क में, to have such gatherings, these gatherings are the need of our time. महफिल में आना सिर्फ ये नहीं बस जी चलो जो कुछ मौलवी भाई रहें जी रार पार सुन्नी होने या बर्दाश्त करी होने या फिर एंड पर चलो खाना तलब सी ना बस जी. No, come with this intention that we're going to learn something, that we're going to benefit from what the speakers are going to educate us about. So how many aspects are we going to discuss this evening? Three aspects. Let's start with that first aspect in relation to the blessed life and biography of Sayyiduna wa Maulana wa Khairuna Abu Bakr Siddiq رضي الله عنه, born 2 years after the year of the elephant. How many years? 2 years after the year of the elephant. Why is the year of the elephant significant? Amul Feel. Because the year of the elephant is the year in which Do Jahan ke Wali, Rahmatan lil Alameen, Huzur Jane Jana, Khataman Nabiyyin came into this dunya. Depending on which book of Sirah you go with, 570 AD or 571 AD. Lekin Sayyiduna wa Maulana wa Khairuna Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu anhu was born how many years after the year of the elephant? Therefore he is how many years the junior of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? 2 years. 2 years. And he was born in the city of Makkatul Mukarramah. And we know, मैं पिछले बारी गालिबन ये नुक्ता बयान किया सी ना, that in the Quran Allah Almighty takes an oath by the city of Makkatul Mukarramah in Suratul Balad, لا أقسم بهذا البلد وأنت حل بهذا البلد ووالد وما ولد. उन वक़्त को नहीं to do वजाहत on each and every point. Lekin born in the city of Makkatul Mukarramah, and he lived in this city for around 51 years. How many years? 51 years. तंग तनान करना ना जहाँ की बोलो या कोई ये सिर्फ तो सनी यानी रिमाइंडर वास्ता ना अरबी proverb you know al-ilmu bit-takrar, knowledge is gained by way of repetition. कोई बोल सो तो इस तरीके नाल याद कर सो ना तो भाई तू सब समझदार बंदे हो ना सारा कुछ जानने हो ना तो इस तरीके नाल they lived for 51 years in the city of their birth, Makkatul Mukarramah. Yes. And he was born to the Banu Taym tribe. Banu Taym. The tribe within the Quraysh. Different Kabilas, different tribes. Like the tribe of the Prophet ﷺ. Does anyone know? Apart from those at the front. Banu Hashim. Good. Khush kari aur yaar. Banu Hashim. Like this we have Banu Zuhra or Banu Asad, many different Kabilas. So Sayyiduna wa Maulana wa Khairuna Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu anhu was a Qurayshi. From which Kabila? Banu Taym. Banu Taym. Asal naam tha Abdullah. Kya naam tha? Abdullah. Abdullah. Before Ilane Nabuwat or Risalat, his name was Abdul Ka'ba. Abdul Ka'ba. But Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam then changed his name to Abdullah. Abdullah we know means the servant of Allah. Who also had the name Abdullah? Father of the Rasul. Father of the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Yes. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam changed his name to Abdullah. Lekin zamana dunya knows him as Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr. इस पर दो आरान उलमा इकराम मौजूद हैं जो मैं गलत है मेरी इस्लाह करन. One opinion is that he had a son by the name of Bakr. जिस तरह वो है ना, that the Arabi lafaz abun is for father, father of Bakr. ये कमजोर राय है. दूसरी राय ये है अबू बकर का यानी जो माना है, मुराद है, meaning is the father of camels. Bakr, yes, the father of camels. Why? Because he used to sacrifice a lot of camels in the way of Islam. और इस तरीके नाल गुरबा और मसाकिनी और यानी जोर खिदमत और open यानी helping and supporting them. So these are two opinions in relation to his name. And we know that whether it's in the words of the Prophet ﷺ, ahadith mubarakah which we, kutub ahadith mubarakah which we, or kutub Islam mein, kutub tarikh mein, in the books of history, everyone has written and known him as Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr. But in addition to this, he also had some other affectionate names as well. One name was Atiq, Ain ke saath. You can probably tell I'm not feeling 100%. Yes, it's been a bit of a long day. So, khair si, Atiq, this was one of the affectionate names given to him by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Iska murad kya hai? The one who is free. The one who is free. And there is a riwayat in the Al-Jami' of Imam At-Tirmizi, rahimahullah ta'ala, that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said words to the effect of that if you wish to look at the one who is free from the fires of Jahannam, yani the one who is Atiq minan nar, then look no further than Sayyiduna Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Look no further than Sayyiduna wa Mawlana wa Khayruna Abu Bakr as-Siddiq Radi Allah anhu. And then this leads me on to the next point. Again, one of his names, which he is more prominently known by, is As-Siddiqul Akbar. Not just As-Siddiq. Some ulama do khiyanat in this. एक बंदे ने नाम लियो तो पूरा नाम लियो. As-Siddiqul Akbar. सिर्फ सिद्दीक कहना काफी नहीं, बल्कि As-Siddiqul Akbar कहना ये दुरुस्त है. Meaning what? He is the champion of truth. And he is the most truthful. And this title was given to him by Allah Almighty Jalla wa Ala from the heavens. Ravi kaun? Mushkil kusha. Shere Huda. Sayyiduna wa Mawlana Ali Murtaza. Karram Allahu Ta'ala Wajhahul Kareem. Tabarani Sharif ki riwayat hai. The morning after the night before. The morning after the night before. Which night? The night of Al-Isra wal Mi'raj. Gallammi Yojasi, again one eye is on the clock. That the morning after the night before, when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told the mushrikeen in Makkah that I've traveled from Makkah to Jerusalem, Al-Quds Sharif, like our Hassan and a few family members will be making that journey in a few weeks' time to Al-Quds Sharif. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told mushrikeen in Makkah that I've made this journey only to Al-Quds. Didn't tell them further than this. And then came back the same night as well. Mushrikeen in Makkah didn't believe the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It was Abu Jahl then who came to Sayyiduna wa Mawlana wa Khayruna Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. जी खाना आ गया उसी मशक है. जी मैं तकारी होनी है ना, जाहिर गलत टाइम पूरा करना ना. जरूर शरीफ पर अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला सय्यिदिना व मौलाना मुहम्मदिन सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि व आलिहि वसल्लम. जी कौन? Abu Jahl. Abu Jahl came to Sayyiduna wa Mawlana wa Khayruna Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu and said that your Prophet has claimed that he's been from Makkah to Jerusalem, Jerusalem back to Makkah in one night. Sayyiduna Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, who had not yet been given this laqab and title of as-Siddiqul Akbar, he said that if our Prophet has said this, then no doubt we believe this. For he has told us matters far greater than this. Matters in relation to Jannat and Jahannam. Matters in relation to the ghaib, the matters of the unseen. When Sayyidina, aur ye bhi dekho na, ye nukta hai. Waise when somebody comes with a riwayat, then it's our duty and responsibility to do tahqiq upon this. The Ravi kaun hai, uska background kya hai, wo mu'tabar hai, thiqqa hai, yani is he reliable, is he unreliable? Lekin here, Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq رضي الله تعالى عنه didn't look at who was saying it, but rather he looked at what was being said. Do you understand the point? He didn't look at who was saying it. The one saying it was Abu Jahl, Fir'aun of this ummah. But rather Abu Bakr Siddiq رضي الله تعالى عنه was more concerned about what was being said. Abu Jahl was looking to lower the status of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to do tawheen of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to do gustakhi of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq رضي الله تعالى عنه no doubt was there to defend the honor of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to defend the namus-e risalat of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Aur wo bhi inshallah nukta pesh kar sana, that not only was he the first defender of namus-e risalat, but he was also the first defender of Aqidah-e Khatm-e Nabuwat as well. Muhafiz-e Aqidah-e Khatm-e Nabuwat. Or pehle Muhafiz. So Muhafiz-e Namus-e Risalat और मुहाफिज अकीदा खत्म नबूवत, ये असल है ना. मेरे बाबा जी अलामा खादिम हुसैन रिजवी रहमतुल्लाहि ताला अलैह often would mention in their bayanat, दाता साहब लिखने कश्फुल महजूब में, तो मैं बाबा जी ना हवाला देता है ना, ए ना बादी कोई हाजी इमाम साहब तुसन पेश करो किथे लिखा हुआ. बाबा जी रहमतुल्लाहि अलैह often would say in their bayanat that दाता साहब write in their kashful mahjub that if you wish to see a Kamil Sufi in the Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, look no further than Sayyiduna Abu Bakr Siddiq رضي الله عنه. Kamil Sufi, और ये Kamil Sufi का किरदार है. ये Sayyiduna व मौलाना व खैरुना Abu Bakr Siddiq रضी अल्लाह ताला अन्हु का किरदार है, that he defended not only the honor of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but also defended Aqidah Khatm Nabuwat as well. More on that towards the end. Lekin tarteeb hai nikah. So many names he had. Asal naam kya tha? Islam se pehle Abdul Kaaba. Then Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam changed his name to Abdullah. Zamana knows him. Tariq refers to him as Abu Bakr. He also had affectionate names like Atiq and As-Siddiqul Akbar. मैं ये भी गाल कहना ना उलमानी मौजूदगी में, जरा जो सिर्फ सिद्दीक सिद्दीक कहना ना, फिर ये समझो रेड फ्लैग है. समझने मेरी गाल? क्योंकि मुझे पता है रिकॉर्डिंग हो रही है. तो ये भी सियारे सुनना, आज मौलाना सेड द एडिटिंग बाद ही होती नहीं इंशाल्लाह. ये नहीं पता है ना, ये मेरा एक फेवरेट मौजू है, यानी खत्म नबूवत तो बाद, नामूस रिसालत तो बाद फेवरेट मौजू ये है. सय्यदुना व मौलाना व खैरुना अबू बकर सिद्दीक रज़ी अल्लाह. क्यों? इस दौर ज़माने में वी हैव नीम राफजी, closet Shias, people who on the apparent portray themselves as Sunni. और ये ऐसे भी मन्ने हैं, क्या मन्ने हो? तो सहुए मन्ने हो जो तो सने शहवात, what your whims and desires, and what is against the yani the corpus of the Quran and Sunnah and the Sharia of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. More on this later. लेकिन ये रेड फ्लैग है. If somebody just says as-Siddiq or Siddiq, then this is a red flag. When we refer to him, we should always say as-Siddiqul Akbar. Akbar ism tafdil है ना. Akbaru akbarani akbaruna akabiru kubra kubrayani kubrayatun kubarun. ये बकायदा. Be careful. अच्छा जी, early life. 5 minute running on this first part. Early life. That he spent his youth joining trade caravans that would travel to Yemen and Syria. ये है ना सूरह कुरैश में, लीलाफी कुरैश ईलाफिहिम रिहलत अश्शिताई वस्सैफ. तफसीर पढ़ो ना. So here we know at this moment in time what's happening in Syria, and we make dua that Allah Almighty protect the lands of Ash-Sham. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself would make dua for Syria and for Yemen as well. That Allahumma barik lana fi Shamina, Allahumma barik lana fi Yamanina, And then वो रिवायत है इसी किताब में बुखारी में, yeah, by chance I put on my social media, Facebook last week as well. Hassan was one of the first people to like it. You better be careful, है ना, वह तेरे पीछे भी कोई लोग लगी जाना. ये बकायदा इसी किताब में, the person stood up and said, Ya Rasulullah, make dua for Najd. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam remained silent. Made dua again for Sham and made dua again for Yemen. The person stood up again, second time, said, Ya Rasulullah, make dua for Najd. Najd, which is modern day Riyadh, right? जो कुछ था वही रहा है इस वक्त, कोई चीज छपी तो नहीं ना. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam again for the second time remained silent. Third time, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam made dua for Sham and made dua for Yemen. And then that person for the third time said, Ya Rasulullah, make dua for Najd. And then Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gave reason why he didn't make dua. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, most of the calamities of this ummah will come from the land of Najd. Earthquakes, disasters. And दूसरी रिवायत में है, the qarnu shaitan will come from the land of Najd. And the horn of the devil will come from the land of Najd. इसी किताब में बुखारी शरीफ में है. So who is this horn of shaitan? Ulama have two opinions. Again, one they say is Musaylam al-Kadhdhab, because he was from Najd, the false prophet who claimed Nabuwat Ma'adallah in the Dawr Khilafat of Sayyiduna Abu Bakr Siddiq. More on that at the end. And the other is who? Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab al-Najdi. तवज्जो है? कौन? The founder of the Najdi movement. Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab al-Najdi. That very same Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab al-Najdi, whose father and his brother, both of them respected ulama in their own rights of the Hanbali madhab, wrote against the brother or son, depending on context. वो एक अलग मौजू है. So he would travel and join the trade caravans to Yemen and Syria. Eventually he became a successful businessman. And due to this he was granted a huge amount of wealth. And we know, and we'll touch upon this in the section regarding virtues, but it makes sense to mention at this point that after he announced his prophethood, focus upon the words that I'm saying, not when he accepted Islam, when he announced his Islam. Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq announced his Islam. He have written in my notes that he never worshipped idols. This is before Islam. He never worshipped idols, never drank alcohol, never committed adultery, never spoke poetry. In an environment of ignorance, no one could find a fault in Sayyiduna wa Mawlana wa Khayruna Abu Bakr Siddiq Radi Allah. No one could criticize the behavior of the most superior human being after the messengers and the prophets. So he was waiting for Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to do ilan in Nabuwat or Risalat. So he himself would do ilan of his Islam as well. So much so that his mother, Salma was her name, Salma bint Sahar. She says what? That the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and my son Abu Bakr, they were best friends. Ye Islam se pehle nahi gal hai. And they were best friends. They were always in each other's company. It was like they were twin brothers. What Imam Shihabuddin al-Qastalani rahimahullah ta'ala mentioned in the Al-Mawahib al-Ladunniya, that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had no saya. Saya, samjhe na? Youngsters, you understand? Shadow. Light upon light gives no shadow. Wahi kal hada mawzu hai. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had no saya. Imam Qastalani writes that the saya of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq Radi Allah. Shadow never leaves you. Siddiq Akbar never left Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Yare ghar, yare mazar. The companion of the cave, and no doubt the companion of the blessed grave as well. So here Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq Radi Allah, this was his life before he announced his Islam. So if Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam received the first revelation at the age of 40 in the cave of Hira, if you're listening, you know the answer. How old was Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq then? Khush kariye na. Pata lagna sunne wasta jaye na. So he was Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq was 38 years old. And then we know that he was the first man to announce his Islam. He was the first to read the prayers with Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Now you can see a seamless transition into the second aspect of the discussion. Yes? that he was the first to read the prayers with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was the first to spend his mal ni pehle gal hoyi si na, the first to spend his mal in the way of Islam as well. Albatta wo mashhur riwayat hai na, the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says nobody's wealth benefited me more than the wealth of Sayyiduna Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu anhu. Who is saying this? Maulvi nikalta nahi na, jab Peer Sahab ro nikal, Huzur jane jana, Khataman Nabiyyin is saying this. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying nobody's wealth benefited me more than the wealth of Sayyiduna Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Aur dusri riwayat mein hai, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said no one has shown greater favor to me than Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. He shared himself and his wealth with me, and he married me his daughter Sayyida Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha. Ye huzur ki alfaz hai. And my notes here have been taken from Imam Jalaluddin As-Suyuti rahimahullah ta'ala's famous Tarikhul Khulafa, which you can find also not only in Arabic and Urdu but in English as well now as well. जो कोई बंदा जी कोई मजमुआ हवाला पेश करो जी कितना सारा कुछ लिखा कितना मवा वैसे तो ये चीज़ें कोई छपियां गलना तो नहीं ना. These gatherings فَإِنَّ ذِكْرَ تَنْفَعُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ Surah Al-Zariyat की आयत है ना. That these gatherings serve as reminders for you and me. And here we are today, gathered on the 14th of December in this masjid. Oh, wo bhi Naqshbandi masjid. Naqshbandi yani nisbat kis naal hai? Ji. So here we are gathered to remember and remind ourselves of the greatness of the most superior human being after the messengers and the prophets. So he gave all of his wealth in the way of Islam. वो भी रिवायत है ना, touch and go. क्यों ये मनाकिब विच है ना, फदाइल विच है, नबी इस्लाम यानी जिसका मफहूम है. और इमाम हाकिम in al-Mustadrak al-Sahihain do naqal of this riwayat, that Nabi Islam says that I have repaid everyone in the dunya. I have repaid everyone in the dunya except for two individuals. You know who they are? The first is the one who we have gathered to remember on this occasion, Sayyiduna wa Mawlana wa Khayruna Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And the second is Ummul Mu'mineen, Sayyida Tayyiba Tahira Khatijatul Kubra radiyallahu ta'ala anha. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said Allah will repay them on the day of Qiyamah. And then Imam Hakim an-Naisapuri, they write in the Al-Mustadrak, but how will Allah Almighty repay them on the day of Qiyamah? Have you ever thought about this? Maybe you're hearing this for the first time. How will Allah Almighty Jalla wa Ala repay these two Nufus Qudsiyat on the day of Qiyamah? And Imam Hakim writes in the Al-Mustadrak that Allah Almighty will repay them in such a way that everyone else, they will do the didar of Allah Almighty Jalla wa Ala, ijma'i taur, collectively. But these two individuals, they will do the didar of Allah Almighty Jalla wa Ala alone, away from everyone else. Alone, away from everyone else. Such is the maqam and martaba of Sayyiduna wa Mawlana wa Khayruna Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Oh, wo bhi riwayat mere samne hai. The Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said what? Chalo, I'll come to that one. Mal ki gal ho rahi si na. If you're listening, this is the third narration I've just mentioned regarding the wealth of Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And then the fourth narration, you know, right? Oh, Imam At-Tirmizi again in the Al-Jami, they mention this. Jami At-Tirmizi Sharif, Kitab al-Manaqib, that on the occasion of the Battle of Tabuk, Jange Tabuk, that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam made ilan that who is going to help the army of difficulty. And Sayyidina Umar says what? Sayyidina Umar says, today I'm going to outdo Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. You know this narration, huh? Today I'm going to outdo Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu. So what does Sayyidina Umar do? Anyone? Takes all of his wealth and then halves it. Takes all of his wealth and then halves it into two. One half he leaves for his family. The other half he gives in the way of Allah and His Rasul. Riwayat thodi tawil hai, lekin bypassing some of it. And then at the same time, what is Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq doing? Ye qurbani hai na. If Allah has blessed you with wealth, then you should spend that wealth in the way of Islam. Islam doesn't prohibit or doesn't forbid you and me from being wealthy, as long as the rizq is halal. आजकल ये भी एक masla है ना, कोई लोग आने नहीं मेरिया 3 कोटियां मीरपुर विच मीरपुर ही इतने बैठे ओ छोरो खैर कह मैं भी खुद मीरपुरी आज यू नो चलो सिर्फ मीरपुर विच नहीं पूरे पाकिस्तान विच रौला पिया वा ना 3 कोटियां जी 4 कोटी जे पोस्टमार्टम करा ना बाहर तो लिखी होने हाज़ा मिन फज़ली रब्बी लेकिन जे पोस्टमार्टम करा जी पैसा कित्थों आया तो फिर तौबा 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 हर बंदा जानना जी एवरीवन नोज व्हाट्स हैपनिंग हु इज डूइंग व्हाट कोई चीज छपी हुई तो नहीं ना हाँ ये भी एक बहुत बड़ा मसला है एक फितना है हलाल और हराम की पहचान कौन ही ना दैट वी मिक्स द टू सिर्फ अपनी टोर वास्ते अपनी बस स्टेटस वास्ते गल ये है that having wealth is not something that Islam prohibits many Sahaba Ikram were wealthy इसी मौके पर सैयदना उस्मान गनी ज़ुन्नुरैन रज़ी अल्लाह ताला अन्हु gave 1,000 camels according to one riwayat 1,000 camels in the way of Islam to assist the army of difficulty for the battle of Tabuk. So having wealth is not something which is prohibited. It's what you do with that wealth that you'll be questioned about on the day of Qiyamah. गाल तो लम्बी हो जासी लेकिन क़यामत के दिन पर 5 सवालात हो सन ना बुखारी शरीफ में रिवायत है 5 questions will be asked on the day of Qiyamah before you even move. Everyone knows about the 3 in the grave, but very rarely do we know about the 5 on the day of Qiyamah. Very rarely do we remind ourselves. And from amongst them questions on the day of Qiyamah will be what? That the question will be, how did you earn your wealth? तीसरा सवाल और चौथा सवाल तरतीब के साथ how did you spend that wealth? असा हुए कौम है ना हुए लोग है ना जिले बाकायदा जुमे ने दिन पर इमाम साहब ऐलान करने हाँ जी मस्जिद नहीं खिदमत करो बस ये सोची समझीते है ना वह वीएना नोट लिख रही जाए नहीं इस तरह ही होना ना असा हुए कौम सुनिया नहीं गाल हो रही है गैर सुनिया नहीं उन्हें की दफा करो सुनिया नहीं गाल हो रही है जैसा बाकायदा नात खाना नहीं उन बहुत ज़्यादा गल ना करा नात खाना नहीं रिस्पेक्ट करने हैं चलो जी नजराने पेश करने हैं ते ओ टिकटॉक पर किसी ने वीडियो लाई है जी ओ पाकिस्तान में पता नहीं कोई रोला पिया वजा ओ जेरे रुपीस कहने जिस तरह इत्थे विंस्टन चर्चिल है ना उथे बाबा कायदे आजम की तस्वीर है ना अक्सर लोग बाकायदा सट्टी तबासी उस पर कोई कदर नहीं तो मैं वीडियो देखी तो मेरे जहन में नुकता आ गया मैं है अपना ही सी समझ गया आजा इसाक साहब अपना ही सी ना जिसनी वीडियो सी ते मेरे जहन में नुकता आया मैं उन्होंने ना राबता भी करना मैं है इतने तुसे ये भी गल करनी सी जाए और आजकल जो तमाशा हो रहा है स्टेजेस पर नात खान नात पढ़ने बस जी नो ये तौहीन नहीं उस तरफ तो साले तौहीन है बाबा कायदे आजम नहीं तौहीन है जो जी नोट बुन रखी और रुपी सट्टी और somebody might walk on it somebody might disrespect it now what about the disrespect that's happening in our gatherings तो कोई बोलना नहीं तमाशा लग गया जी ड्रामे लगे हुए जी तो हर बंदा गल जो नहीं करना सर नात खाना नहीं आजकल ज्यादा वैल्यू तो उलमा की कदर ही को नहीं मुफ्ती सुलेमान रिजवी साहब रहमतुल्लाह अलैह ने गल करी गनो ना जे मैं गलत है करेक्ट मी इफ आई एम रॉन्ग if we walked past somebody nobody would know who he was a mountain of knowledge कदर ही को नहीं उलमा वास्ता है मैं अपनी गल ना करना अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह इज्जत जिल्लत इज फ्रॉम अल्लाह अलमाइटी जल्ला वाला कौन देता है देने को मुंह चाहिए देने वाला है सच्चा क्यों मुखलिसीन मुखलिस जेने मेरे दोस्त ना यार अने इमाम साहब थोड़ा हाथ होला रखो ए ना रोजी बंद हो जाए हाथ थोड़ा होला रखो कादियानियों के खिलाफ बोल रहे हो ये करने वो मैं रोजी इज फ्रॉम अल्लाह अलमाइटी जल्ला इन्नल्लाह वल्लाहु खैरुर राज़िकीन अल्लाह तबारक व तआला इज द बेस्ट ऑफ प्रोवाइडर्स ये नहीं मतलब जब गैरत हो जाओ जी ये नहीं मतलब आज गैरत मुक्की जाए जी ये नहीं मतलब कोई आजकल ये भी नवा डरा के ना हिकमत के साथ चलो जी इमाम साहब हिकमत के साथ तो वही पीस गुलाम दस्तगीर शाह साहब ना जुमला मेरे जहन विच ना बाबा जी ने उसने मौके पर हजरत भी उठाई से ना आई सेड इट that ये नहीं मतलब जो हिकमत that you compromise गैरत as well हिकमत अपनी जगह लेकिन बगैरती तो नहीं ना होनी चाहिए somebody is insulting the ulama इकराम तो सहनी नहीं असा नहीं बोलना जी असा इन्होंने खिलाफ नहीं होना क्यों नहीं होना यार उलमा की कदर करो उलमा वारिसीन ऑफ द अंबिया उलमा हुआ the crowns on our heads लेकिन नहीं कदर को नहीं ना कदरुल्ला हो जानी जिले दुनिया तू चले जाओ बड़े मुफ्ती साहब सन, बड़े अलामा साहब सन, बड़े फहामा सन, शेखुल इस्लाम सन, उस्ताद उलमा सन, और यार जिले जीने से कोई पूछना ही नहीं सी। जिले जीने सन जिस इमाम ने पिछा सन नमाज, और ये इमाम का मुराद ये नहीं बस जी बड़े इमाम जिले छोटे इमाम भी बाकायदा इमामत इज ऑफ टू टाइम्स, सुगरा एंड कुबरा। हाँ, पीछे से इमाम से अल्लाह अकबर, हाँ पीछे से इमाम से अल्लाह अकबर। तो जिले बाहर जाने तो उसी इमाम ने खिलाफ असा गिरता करने हैं जे में रौंगत आज तक कौन ही ना मसला ना। हाँ आज तक कौन ही ना मसला जा हो जी उन इमाम से थोड़ा लिहाज करो क्यों बुजुर्ग बैठे हुए। हाँ एक आज सिर्फ एक ही बुजुर्ग नजर आए रहे। हाँ जे में गलत है मेरी इस्लाह करो, मैं बच्चा ही है ना, वी ओनली बीन इन दिस फील्ड फॉर 15 years, ओनली 15 years। हाँ ये आजकल बहुत बड़ी बीमारी है ना, शायद सिर्फ ब्रैडफोर्ड विच है, बर्मिंघम वाले सारे सुझे हुए। हाँ तो फिर प्लीज अपना रवैया तब्दील करो ना। हाँ अपना रवैया तब्दील करो तो क्या लो रही सी। हाँ वही जामिया तिरमिज़ी शरीफ की रिवायत, तो सैयदना अबू बकर सिद्दीक रضي الله تعالى عنه, and this is what my danger. I said to myself all the way here, 3 hours it took me to drive. Gaddi matti matti chalana sa, I think there's something wrong with the trucking or whatever it is. I said to myself, I kept repeating, I'm going to stick to the time, I'm going to stick to the script, I'm not going to go off track. I was doing so well for about half an hour, but I've just gone off into a tangent as usual. Coming back onto the discussion, you know this narration anyway. You know this narration anyway. What was Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, Sayyiduna wa Maulana wa Khairuna doing? He was gathering everything. Pots, pans, dirham, dinars. Albatta, you know that he also took the buttons from his shirt. Replaced them buttons with thorns. Or Baqaida came and presented everything to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, what have you left? What have you left for your family? Abqaitu lahumullah wa rasul. That I have left Allah and His Rasul for my family. Is which we only ilmi nuqta hai na. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam at this point is where? Masjid Nabi Sharif. Where is Siddiq Akbar? Masjid Nabi Sharif. All matters and affairs were dealt with from the masjid. Masjid sirf ye nahi 5 waqt namaz wasta hai. Masjid sirf ye nahi khatam sharif wasta. Masjid is the center of the community, the hub of the community. No greater example than Masjid Nabi Sharif. So Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq is in Masjid Nabi Sharif with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Lekin Aqidah Siddiq dekho, that he says what? That I have left Allah and His Rasul with my family. Family are at home. And jisa Masjid Zubair ain ji Blackburn tu, Hassan ain Derby tu. Yes, तुम आए दूरों नजदीक तो ऐसा इतना बैठे हो कोई पता नहीं क्या हो रहा, कार नहीं हो रहा, लेकिन सिद्दीक अकबर का अकीदा देखो, अकीदा अहले सुन्नती वल जमाअत, द नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम is हाजिर और नाजिर. Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq said what? That I have left Allah and His Rasul for my family. The वो भी रिवायत है, Abdurrahman as-Sulami then do naqal of this, that Jibril then came down from the heavens. Who came down? Sayyidul Malaika came down from the heavens. And Sayyidina Jibril alayhi salam, he was wearing the same attire, the same clothing as Siddiq Akbar. Us riwayat ka mafhum. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, ye kya majra hai? What's the meaning of this? And Jibril alayhi salam says that, Ya Rasulullah, it's not just me, but Allah has told all of the angels in the heavens to wear the same clothing, the same attire as Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. And then Allah has told me to tell you, Ya Rasulullah, ask Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. First give salam and then ask him that, are you razi with Allah Almighty Jalla wa'ala? Are you razi with Allah Almighty Jalla wa'ala? وَلَا سَوْفَ يُعْتِيكَ رَبُّكَ فَتَرْضَى. Ye us ayat ki tafsir hai. Abu Bakr going to do wazahat upon everything. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam calls Abu Bakr as-Siddiq back again after this initial waqiyah. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that Jibril came to me, Jibril told me that Allah is giving you salam, and then Allah is asking that, are you happy with him? And then what does Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq say? Ana an Rabbi radin, ana an Rabbi radin, ana an Rabbi radin. That I am happy with my Lord, I am happy with my Lord, I am happy with my Lord. Allahu Akbar. This is the maqam that we should look to achieve. That we are happy with everything that Allah Almighty Jalla wa'ala gives us. तो उसी जिब्रील निकालो, इसी में पहले रिवायत पेश कर. The Nabi Sallallahu इस दूसरे मौके पर Nabi Sallallahu said, Jibreel came to me and I asked him to mention to me the excellencies of Sayyidina Umar. तवज्जो है ना? हाँ, Jibreel came to the Prophet. अच्छा, वैसे ये side point है. Does anyone know how many times Jibreel came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Who said loads? What vague, isn't it? Give me a specific number. Ji? Anyone? Thousands, yes. We can bit vague. Give me a specific number. लिखने वाले कौन? Ibn Adil in the tafsir, or Allama Yusuf bin Ismail Nabhani do naql of this in the Al-Anwar al-Muhammadiyya min al-Mawahib al-Laduniyya. Huh? Chalo ji, waqt ko need to go around the room. Nabi Sallallahu Wasallam was visited by, yani Jibreel came to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam 24,000 times. How many times? थकी गयो मैं शक है. How many times? 24,000 times. अच्छा, ये भी फिर सवाल पैदा होना. चलो जिब्रील ना काम ये सी ना. His duty and responsibility was to come and give the revelation. Verses in the Quran 6,236. Even though we know that some verses were revealed together, like Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq, khalaqa al-insana min 'alaq, Iqra wa rabbuka al-akram alladhi 'allama bil qalam, 'allama al-insana ma lam. First revelation is the case in point here. But let's say for the purpose of discussion, that Jibreel came 6,236 times. Or baqaida, how many times did he come in total? 6,236 times he came to reveal the verses. But in total he came 24. You're still left with how many? 17,764. If we're saying for the purpose of discussion that he came and revealed every verse separately. So then what's the explanation here for 17,764? Or Sheikh Abdul Aziz al-Dabbagh rahimahullah ta'ala, from Fez, Marrakesh, Fez, Morocco. They write in the Al-Ibri Sharif, Ala Hazrat in the Fatawa Rizviya refer to this as Al-Ibri Sharif. They said that Jibreel alayhi salam, उनके आने जाने का मकसद सिर्फ एक ही सी, that हुआ खादिमु रसूलिल्लाह सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम, that he is the servant of Rasulullah. बस हुजूर की खिदमत, हुजूर की नौकरी. Allahu Akbar. So are you understanding anything I'm saying here? So here Jibreel alayhi salam came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Jibreel alayhi salam, Nabi Sallallahu Wasallam said, I asked him to mention the virtues and excellencies regarding who? Sayyidina Umar. You are listening. And Jibreel says what? If I was to mention to you the virtues and excellencies of Sayyidina Umar, then it would take the number of years of the life of Nuh alayhi salam that he spent with his people preaching the Wahdaniyya Uluhiyya of Allah Almighty, 950 years. It would take Jibreel alayhi salam 950 years to mention the virtues of Sayyidina Umar. And he still wouldn't finish. And then indeed, Umar is one deed, one fi'al, one neki from the good deeds of Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq رضي الله عنه. हाय मैं मनाक़िब और फ़दाइल विच इतना ही काफ़ी है. लेकिन मेरे सामने एक और रिवायत भी है. गल्लां तो नहीं ना मुकनियां, लेकिन ये सहाबा नहीं गल्लां ना, प्यारियां गल्लां. अहले सुन्नत का है कल्ला ही लग गया, अहले सुन्नत का है बेरा पार, असहाबे हुजूर नजम है और नौ है इतरत रसूलुल्लाह की सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम. Here I have in front of me over 25 narrations regarding the virtues of Sayyidina Abu Bakr, yani on one particular document. And I'm going to end with this one. And then last 20 minutes, I'm still within my time. खाना ठंडा ना हो जाए. मैं ही पूरे दिन खाना नहीं खाता. बुड्ढी आनी सी allowed you some food before you go. मैं बनानी कुछ नहीं, ऑर्डर करने वास्ते है, पहले खाली जाने. ब्रिटिश बुढ़िया फिर पता है ना, तो भाई कर अल्लाह. अच्छा जी, ये हाय प्यारी रिवायत है. हर रिवायत प्यारी है, लेकिन शायद पहले बारी जिंदगी में सुनने हो. मैं एंड पर पुट ना, that one day Sayyiduna Abu Bakr Siddiq met Sayyidina Ali Murtaza. Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq met Sayyidina Ali Murtaza, and Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq smiled at Sayyidina Ali. ये तो आजकल यानी चूरे और इस तरीके नाल नकम्मे बदबख्त इंसान अपने आप के मुसलमान कह रहे हैं. And then what do they try to portray? That there was some sort of issue between Siddiq Akbar and Sayyidina Ali Murtaza, or there was issues between the Sahaba and the. Nothing could be further from the truth. Siddiq Akbar met Sayyidina Ali Murtaza and smiled. Yes? Sayyidina Ali asked why he smiled. Siddiq Akbar replied, he says that I heard the Prophet ﷺ say, no one will be allowed to cross the Pul Sirat. No one will be allowed to cross the bridge, the Pul of Sirat, except by the permission granted by Ali. Hi. Ji, who said this? Siddiq Akbar رضي الله تعالى عنه said this. हवाला भी मेरे सामने है, हाँ, रिवायत मेरे सामने है. ये बकायदा Siddiq Akbar said to Sayyidina Ali Murtaza, the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that no one will be allowed to cross the bridge except with the permission granted by Sayyidina Ali. Agli gal suno. Sayyidina Ali then smiled at Siddiq Akbar. Hi. Goosebumps, yeah. Siddiq Akbar, Sayyidina Ali smiled at him. So Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq asked that, Ya Ali, oh Ali, why are you smiling? Why are you smiling? Then Sayyidina Ali says what? Shouldn't I give you the glad tidings, O Abu Bakr? I heard the Prophet ﷺ say that permission will not be granted to that person looking to cross the bridge except for the one who loves Abu Bakr Siddiq. Hi. Except for the one who loves Abu Bakr Siddiq رضي الله تعالى عنه. आजकल ने सादात जनरल या हो जी उन्होंने पीछे किया पे भी हो ज़्यादा घर बार बीमारियां उठू अच्छियां ना, हाँ, पूरी जिंदगी बकायदा अवाम ने सामने आने जी ऐसा फिक्र रजा पर हाँ जी, तो उन्होंने जी उन आला हजरत कहना सही तकलीफ अच्छी है जी, तो आला हजरत क्यों कहने हो जी, तोबा, हाँ, ये बकायदा सिर्फ बतौर इस्लाह करने के लिए. माय सेकंड टाइम हियर, तीसरी बार कोई बुला ही ना था, ओ जी इमाम साहब, मैं किसी बंदे ने नाम नहीं लिया, पहले मैं लाई उन्ना सन कहने मसाला, तो उन अम्मी जी भी आने सन कोई लिहाज कर, डोंट मेंशन एनीबॉडीज नेम्स, इशारतन काफ़ी है, इंसान के लिए इशारा ही काफ़ी है ना. ये पूरी अहले सुन्नत विच एक परेशानी बनी हुई है, एक तबाह हुई हुई है, हाँ. Or they tried to pitch the Sahaba against the Ahlul Bayt and the Ahlul Bayt against the Sahaba. But again, nothing could be further from the truth, which then leads me on nicely. If you're following, there's a little bit of a flow here. I could mention so much, but it leads me on nicely now to my third and final part of the discussion within my time. I started at 7:15. I said I was given 1 hour. I'm still within my time. We mentioned some aspects of the life of Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq. Reminders for the latecomers. Remind them. When was Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq born? How many years after the year of the elephant? Good, mashallah. In which city was he born? Where? How long did he live in Makkah Sharif? Excellent. Then Baqaida, from amongst his names, what was his actual name before Islam? Abdul Kaaba. Then the Prophet ﷺ changed his name to Abdullah. And then Baqaida, there were two affectionate names of Sayyidina Abu Bakr. First was Atiq, and the second As-Siddiq al-Akbar. Or isi tarike se, we mentioned that before Islam, he never worshipped idols, never drank alcohol, never committed adultery. Al-Batta, his mother said what? He was the best friend of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Or isi tarike se, we said that he was the first man to announce his Islam, first to read his prayers with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the first to spend his wealth in the way of Islam. And then we mentioned 4 narrations regarding his wealth. It's mentioned that when he announced his Islam, he had 40,000 dirhams to his name. As soon as he announced his Islam, he spent all of that in the way of Islam. Google par tusa calculate karo na, 40,000 dirhams of then to today's what we call, it's over 100,000 pounds. 100,000 pounds. Can you imagine that? Or then we mentioned, here we could talk about his braveness, we could talk about his courage, we could talk about his qurbani, so many aspects of the life that we could touch upon. I've not even mentioned the hijrah journey, the migration, and then 3 days and 3 nights in which cave? Janne ho na? ثاني اثنين إذ هما في الغار إذ يقول لصاحبه لا تحزن إن الله معنا. लेकिन इस पर जे इजाजत दियो, गल्ला तो नहीं मुकनी, जे इजाजत दियो, एक प्यारी रिवायत पेश करने गार दाखिल होने तू पहले What did Sayyidina Abu Bakr? Who carried who? Those of you who've been to Makkah Sharif, you will know how difficult it is to climb, just carrying your own body weight from the bottom to the top. And here, Siddiq Akbar, Afdalul Bashar, Ba'dal Anbiya, was not only carrying himself but also carrying Imam al-Anbiya wal Mursaleen, Khatam al-Nabiyyin on his blessed back as well. From the bottom to the... And then before entering the cave, Sayyidina Abu Bakr says, Ya Rasulullah, give me permission. Allow me to enter the cave to see if it's safe for you to enter. And then we know what happened. Siddiq Akbar Radi Allah entered the cave and he took parts of his kameez and started to fill in the holes, the gaps. But one hole remained. And he took his blessed heel and placed it on that final hole. Then he said to the Prophet, Ya Rasulullah, now it is safe for you to enter. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam entered into the cave. Shah Waliullah Muhaddis Delhi mentioned, many ulama have written this. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam entered into the cave. Sufiya say what? Is par nukta hai. Sufiya say what? You know, asabi Ahlul Tasawwuf na? Ahlul Tasawwuf are sat here as well. Sufiya said the cave of Thawr represents our heart. Arifin say what? That the cave of Thawr represents our heart. That before Noor Mustafa can enter into your heart, allow Siddiq Akbar to enter it and clean it. Ghar Thawr represents our heart. And just like Siddiq Akbar entered the cave and he cleansed the cave, prepared the cave for the arrival of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for the entry of Nabi Sallallahu. In the same way, the cave here represents our heart. Therefore, allow Siddiq Akbar to enter into your heart. Allow him to cleanse and wash away the dirt of the heart so that Noor Mustafa can enter into the heart. Allah, process hai na? ये भी आजकल ताज्जुब की बात है यार. ऐसा नहीं, लोग they really need guidance. कोई लोग बकायदा उठे जाने मवाजा शरीफ के सामने खली जाने. कोई तो उस बदबख्ती विच ना जब बस इस तरीके ना मैं पिछले बार याद किया सी ना ये तस्वीरां चिकना ते वीडियो बनाना गालिबा में पेश की सी गल जी. ये तो तमाशा लग गया जी. Whose court are we standing in? Where are we? लेकिन तमाशा लग गया जी. लोग है कि साल से मदीना शरीफ गए, लोग है कि साल से. और ये भी ताज्जुब की बात में पिछली बार शायद पेश की थी जेनी तो हम पेश करने हैं बड़े बड़े पीर बड़े बड़े मौलवी यार स्टैंडिंग विद देयर बैक्स टुवर्ड्स द गुंबद खजरा शरीफ. इफ आई एम रॉन्ग प्लीज करेक्ट मी. मैं तो बच्चा न कल्ला ना बच्चा बकायदा काका समझो. लेकिन अदब भी कोई चीज है ना यार. अदब भी कोई चीज है. अंतहबत अमालुकुम अंतुम ला तशउरून. किसी बंदे ने खिलाफ नहीं कहा यार. सारे ऐसा सर ने ताजन जे उन्होंने अकीदा हुआ है दुरुस्त. लेकिन ये जो फिअल है, ये जो अमल है, तो फिर अवाम तो अवाम है यार. जे खवास विच ये कमजोरी है तो अवाम तो फिर समझो उन्हें वसत है खुला इजाजत और खुली तरीके नाल इस तरीके नाल मोहलत है ना. तो गल होई सी before you can even present yourself to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, first you need to present yourself to Sayyiduna Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Yes. So the door to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. So is tariqe naal gal makane ya. Third part of my discussion. So far so good. Third part was going to be regarding what? Third part is regarding one of the fundamental aspects of the creed of the Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, which is that the most superior afdaliyat mutlaqa, outright superiority after the Anbiya wal Mursaleen is with Sayyiduna Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu anhu. जी. और इसका मुराद ये नहीं द तकसीम करो और ये से भी मनने अफदलन, लेकिन सियासी एतबार पर वो जरी पहले गाल हो रही सी नीम राफजी क्लोजेट शियाज आपने आपकी सुन्नियां कह रहे हैं जी असवी मिलाद शरीफ मनाने हैं, असवी यारवी शरीफ मनाने हैं. तो ये बकायदा व्हेन यू आस्क देम हां जी मनने हो द अफदलियत मुतलका इज विद सैयदना अबू बकर. हां जी मनने अफदलन लेकिन मुतलका नहीं. सियासी एतबार यस, लेकिन फिर कहने जी रूहानी एतबार सैयदना अली मुर्तज़ा. Are you following what I'm saying here? So this is शरारत और ये धोखा है. And this is again गद्दारी against अकीदा अहल सुन्नति वल जमाअह. अकीदा अहल सुन्नति वल जमाअह is what? That you can't be a Sunni You cannot be from the Ahli Sunnati wal Jama'ah jab tak you do not outright believe and accept that the most superior human being after the Anbiya wal Mursaleen, politically and spiritually, ruhani taur aur siyasi taur, is Sayyiduna wa Maulana wa Khayruna Abu Bakr Siddiq رضي الله عنه. मेरे सामने एक किताब है और ये बकायदा अल-इनायतु शरहुल हिदाया, सफ़ा नंबर 121, यानी शरह ऑफ हिदाया शरीफ. मौलाना किबला हजरत अल्लामा साहब किबला will tell you the importance of this book. Hazrat, and he was from the lineage of Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq, Imam Marghinani rahimahullah ta'ala. Barhal wo galo idisi that they write here, safa number 121. मेरी आखिरी दो तीन नुकात. The Sayyiduna Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, they were asked that annahu su'ila an madhhabi ahli sunnati wal jama'ah. They were asked that what are the signs of being from the ahli sunnati wal jama'ah. My youngsters in particular, listen carefully, because we say we are Sunni, but if somebody was to ask you, Anji, what does it mean to be a Sunni? फिर समझो सा सिर्फ सुक्के सुन्नी है ना, टाना टन सुन्नी नहीं, सुक्के सुन्नी. तो सुन्नी होने ना मुराद क्या है, और what's the purpose of, यानी what's the meaning of this? I'm sorry to say, कोई आने की बात वैसे भी मिलाद शरीफ मना, और मिलाद शरीफ मनाने नाल कोई बंदा सुन्नी नहीं बनना. हजरत ये मैं गलत है, मेरी इस्लाह करो. हाँ, सिर्फ मिलाद शरीफ मनाने ना, और जैसा भी मिलाद शरीफ, और यार ये तो मियाद नहीं ना. there are usul, there are qawaid. हमारी मुल्कात हो ये किबला मुफ्ती मुनव्वर अतीक साहब किबला नाल, back in Ghaliban, you were there as well, I think, for the wedding in Nottingham. Yes, no? You drove them there, and Hazrat was whispering in my ear how they Ghaliban they've done it, or they in the process of publishing it, mentioning the qawaid and the usul and the musallamat of aqidah ahli sunnati wal jama'ah. ये गल है. Awam wasta. Awam doesn't know what it means to be from the ahli sunnati wal jama'ah. So who was asked this question? Imam Abu Hanifa was asked. Mere imam, aapke imam, sabke imam. Now what does it mean to be from the ahli sunnati wal jama'ah? Tawajjuh se suno. They said what? Huwa an yufaddil ash-shaykhayn. The first sign to be from the ahli sunnati wal jama'ah is that you must consider and believe that the outright superiority is with Abu Bakr as-Siddiq first and foremost, and then Umar Farooq radiyallahu ta'ala. Tawajjuh hai na? If you do not believe this, you cannot be a Sunni. Am I saying this? Peace of Qibla saying this? No, Imam Abu Hanifa is saying this. Or Imam Abu Hanifa baqaida, here of course, not just Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Rabbani in the Maktubat Sharif as well. Or isi tarike se you have many other baqaida ulama ikram, 30 or so ulama ikram from the mutakallimin, yani the scholars of kalam, who baqaida have done naqal of this, that the sign of being from the ahli sunnati wal jama'ah is that you must believe firmly that the most superior human being after the Prophet is Sayyiduna Abu Bakr. Or this aqidah is not just based upon the ijma of the a'imma and ijma of the ummah. This aqidah is based upon Quran and Sunnah. ये मेरे सामने सिर्फ एक रिवायत पेश करने हैं, जे इजाजत दियो कि मेरा टाइम तकरीबन हो गया, मुकम्मल हो पूरा. और ये बकायदा हदीस शरीफ, ये केरी किताब है. और ये भी याद रखो, Bukhari is not for the awam, even though I don't consider myself to be from the ulama. लेकिन Bukhari Sharif is not for the awam. जब बस ये एक मोहसिन खानी ट्रांसलेशन तो सला प्रीता बस ये लोगों ने सामने रिवायता पेश करो, दो by profession you are an engineer or a plumber, नहीं गाल समझी पहुंचेगी. तो साथ माशा पहले पहुंचे सो. तो ये हदीसी नंबर 3655. 3000. मैं बस आखिरी बात, इस तो बाद में नहीं तंग करना जी. ये नंबर तो से पूरे याद करने, ये 4 डिजिट्स ना, जिस तरह से जाने ATM मशीन विच तो वो 4 डिजिट्स पक्के याद किते हैं ना, पिन नंबर जरा ना, तो ये भी समझो पिन नंबर है, लेकिन किस चीज वास्ते है? अकीदा अहले सुन्नती वल जमात वास्ते। 35 3655 36 हाय 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 3655। रावी कौन? सैयदना अब्दुल्ला इब्ने उमर रضي الله تعالى عنهما। he says what? قال كنا نخير, ये फिर मादी अल इस्तिमरारी है ना, कुन्ना नुखय्यिर, ये भी नुखय्यिर बाब तफ़ईल है मुबालगा के साथ। मुबक्कत को नहीं टू डू वज़ाहत अपॉन एवरी पॉइंट हियर। तो सब बात ही फिर सोचो इमाम साहब जो शोइंग ऑफ, कोई शो ऑफ नहीं, वैसे साहिब असहाब इल्म बैठे हैं ना, साहिबैन इल्म, तो जे में गलत है मेरी इस्लाह कर सन। मौलाना नाउ हैज़ माई नंबर एज वेल, सिर्फ मशक है शो वास्ते है, कोई मैसेज ऐसी तो नहीं अजा किता ने वेट करना सा, लेकिन चलो बाद ही हिसाब कर सा। कुन्ना नुखय्यिरु बैन अन्नासी फी ज़मन नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम, फनुखय्यिरु अबा बकर सुम्मा उमर इब्न अल खत्ताब सुम्मा उस्मान इब्न अफ़्फ़ान रज़ी अल्लाह ताला अन्हुम। इस पर मैं अपनी गल अलबत्ता ये पूरी तरीके नाल मवाद है इस पर, ये ना समझो ये एक ही रिवायत है, नहीं। बाय अल्लाह अकीदा अहले सुन्नती वल जमा इतना कमज़ोर ना समझो, इतना कमज़ोर ना समझो। क्यों आजकल लोग में बाया ना डंडी लाने, डंडी खियानत करने, कोई आने नो ना इजमाई मसला नहीं, ये जमहूर का मसला है। मैं शाबाश है जी, तो आपने आपकी जी बड़े बड़े अलकाबात पेश करने, इशारा ही काफ़ी है जी। Some of their murids very prevalent in Smedic and in Oldbury and other places as well, तो उन्हें लोगों ने पेटे मरोर पी जाने, जिला अफदलियत मुतलका सिद्दीक अकबर बयान करो तो हो जी इस मौलवी की नहीं बुलाना, क्यों? और जी ऐसे नहीं पीर साहब कह रहे हैं जी, अच्छा तो सर पीर साहब कह रहे हैं, पीर साहब, पीर साहब नहीं पीर साहब, हाँ तो फिर आने नहीं, ये कतई नहीं, ये ज़न्नी है। तो किस एतबार पर अवाम के लिए they won't know the differences between कतई and ज़न्नी, they won't know the difference between इजमा and जमहूर, लेकिन इशारा ही समझी जाओ। These are red flags. People who say these type of things, stay away, run a mile away from them, if not knock them out, right Haji Shuaib? Knock them out. So here 3655. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Umar رضي الله تعالى عنهما says what? That we would categorically decide and agree amongst us in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that we preferred, nukhayyiru, we preferred, we agreed, we came to this conclusion, we came to this agreement in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, yani Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam ki maujudgi mein, that the most superior, the most preferred after the prophets is Sayyiduna Abu Bakr Siddiq रज़ी अल्लाह। ये किसका अकीदा है? सहाबा का अकीदा है, क्यों ये जमा का सीगा है ना, जमा का सीगा। So ये बकायदा they said that we would prefer and give tarjih to and we would give yani superiority to who? Sayyiduna Abu Bakr Siddiq रज़ी, then who? Sayyidina Umar, then who? Sayyidina Uthman Ghani। अच्छा जी, तो ये बकायदा गलना तो नहीं ना मुकनिया। ये 3671 भी है, ये भी बुखारी शरीफ है। द मुहम्मद बिन हनफिया, he says what? I said to my father, his father was who? मौला कायनात सैयदना अली मुर्तज़ा। खाना ले आनो इंशाल्लाह, ख़त्म शरीफ पढ़ने दुआ मांगने इंशाल्लाह। He said that I said to my father that अय्युन नासी खैरुन बअद रसूलिल्लाह सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम, who is the most superior human being after the messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Sayyidina Ali says what? That the most superior human being is Abu Bakr Siddiq. 3671. Oh, by Allah, I can stand here all night. This is my favorite part of the discussion. I feel like I'm just brushing it and then yani makane wasta hai. Lekin ye 3671. And then son asked the father, Thumma man, fair con. Then he said, Thumma Umar. Who is saying this? Sayyiduna Ali is saying this. Wa khashitu an yaqula Uthman. Then Muhammad bin Hanafiya says, I was afraid that my father would say, Uthman, if I asked him, then who? Then he says, I said to my father, Thumma anta? That after Umar, are you the most superior? Sayyidina Ali ki ajizi dekho. Sayyidina Ali says what? Ma ana illa rajulun minal muslimin. That I am just a man from amongst the believers. Allahu Akbar. Ye ajizi, ye inkasari. आजकल जी उन्होंने बनी बनाई हुई औलाद जिस तरीके नाल उम्मत विच तफरका पैदा करने और मुसलमाना विच इस तरीके नाल परेशानी पैदा करने, किसी बंदे ने खिलाफ नहीं तकरीर, लेकिन if the shoe fits it fits, if it fits it fits. So beware of the, और सिर्फ पीर सादात नहीं, मौलवी भी बकायदा आजकल यार हसना डरबी विच मौलवी भी आजकल बकायदा तो लोग आने नहीं हुण जी असां इन्हां ने पिछे नमाज़ा पढ़ने असां क्या करी सकने आ, लेकिन मसला वो नहीं है ना कौन बोला है तो कौन आख है जे ऐसा बोला तो ऐसे आने हो जी तुसा तो कल्याणे बच्चे हो, मैं तुसा बुढ़े कोरे होएगी हो, अजय तुसा स्ट्रेट ना होए। हाँ नहीं इमाम साहब तुसा सिर्फ 2 किताबा मैं तुसा 6 पढ़ियां ना, अजय तुसा डंडी मारनी हो तो बगावत करनी हो तो गद्दारी करनी हो अगेंस्ट मुसल्लमात एंड इत्तिकाद ऑफ अहले सुन्नत वल जमात। प्लीज पहचान रखो। अल्लाह तबारक व तआला समझने की और अमल करने की तौफीक अता फरमान। और इमाम अबू हनीफा का कौल मकान है फिर वमा अलैना इल्ला बलाग। पहली अलामत क्या सी सुन्नी बनने की क्या अलामत सी? फर्स्ट साइन ऑफ बीइंग अ सुन्नी इज व्हाट? दैट यू गिव सुपीरियरिटी टू सैयदना अबू बकर सिद्दीक एंड सैयदना उमर, शेखैन कहने शेखैन। दूसरी अलामत क्या है बकौल सैयदना इमाम अबू हनीफा? द सेकंड अलामत इज व्हाट? द अन युहिब्बल खतनैन, अन युहिब्बल खतनैन, that you love the 2 son-in-laws of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Who are the 2 son-in-laws? Sayyidina Uthman Ghani or Sayyidina Ali Murtaza. Sayyidina Uthman is that shakhsiyat, that wahid shakhsiyat in the whole Caliph of Islam, that no man married 2 daughters of one prophet apart from Uthman Ghani. Unka lakab kya hai? Dhun Nurayn. And then Sayyidina Ali, no doubt, Sayyida Fatima tu Zahra Batul Jannat, Sayyidatun Nisa ala al-Alameen. क्या बात है रजा, उस चमनिस्तान करम की ज़हरा है कली जिसमें हुसैन और हसन फूल। Sayyida Fatima, the youngest and most beloved daughter, the leader of the women of paradise in the nikah of Sayyidina Ali Murtaza. So ये असल है ना इत्तिदाल, balance when talking about the Sahaba and the Ahlul Bayt यथार्थ। और तीसरी अलामत क्या है? वअन यरा al-masha ala al-khuffayn, wiping over the leather socks, the khuffayn. क्यों उस वक़्त शिया हजरात रवाफिद they would deny these ahadith mubarakah which reach the level of tawatur, they reach the level of mass transmission. They would say no, there is no wiping over the leather socks or khuffain moccasins. लेकिन वो एक इल्मी बहस है। मैं तो सने 8-9 मिनट ज़्यादा लेन क्या याद रख सो, मैं 3 घंटे ना सफ़र करीता है ना, लेकिन that's one way, तुम वापस भी जाना ना तो सब बस 5 मिनट गड्डी चलाई था जब पैदल चले जा सो कार ईटिंग शीटिंग लाई था बासी राम रख कम्बल प्लेटी था लत्ता खिलारी था बासी सी जा सो मैं फिर वापस ही जाना ना। अल्लाह तबारक व तआला ये हाज़री कबूल करन और इसी तरीके से अल्लाह तबारक व तआला keep us कायम और दायम upon अकीदा अहले सुन्नत वल जमात। इस विच नजात है, इस विच खैरात है, इस विच बका है और इस विच कामयाबी है। इस तो अलावा और कुछ भी नहीं। क्यों आजकल just saying that you're Muslim is not enough, just saying that you're a Muslim is not enough। क्यों? जिस मैं पिछले बार भी अर्ज किया सी ना, जब कादियानी भी आपने आपकी मुसलमान इस तरीके नाल लखवाने जी और भी कहने जी असा भी मुसलमान हां। So this is why we have to be firm on our identity that yes we are Muslims but we are upon aqidah ahl sunnati wal jamaa and we are upon the madhhab of Imam Abu Hanifa और इसी तरीके से we are upon the aqidah of Imam Abu Mansur al-Mauturidi and we are upon the fikr of Sayyiduna Ala Hazrat Imam alayhi sunnat Imam Ahmad Riza Khan alayhi rahmat wa ridwan। अल्लाह तबारक व तआला इसी अकीदे पर कायम और दायम रखन और बाकी गल्लां जेरियां और किसी मौके पर, लेकिन एक नारे के साथ असा अपनी हाज़री मकाने जवाब दे सो तो फिर खाना खवालसा नारे तकबीर नहीं मज़ा आ रहा ठंडक है बार यार, क्यों इस तरीके नाल शर्माने हो? क्यों चकने हो? नारे तकबीर, नारे रिसालत, नारे रिसालत, नारे रिसालत, नारे तहकीक, नारे तहकीक, नारे तहकीक, नारे हैदरी, ताजदारे खत्म नबूवत जिंदाबाद, ताजदारे खत्म नबूवत जिंदाबाद, ताजदारे खत्म नबूवत जिंदाबाद, लब्बैक लब्बैक। उस दायरा एक मौलवी साहब आने इमाम साहब ये लब्बैक ना नारा ना लाया करो। मैं बेशर्मो, ए क्या मतलब? नहीं इमाम साहब ये TLP के साथ एक निस्बत है, यकीनन ये परसों निकाला है, TLP के साथ बाबा जी के साथ निस्बत। मैं है यार, यू नॉट मौलवी सर, मैं यू नॉट रेड द हदीस शरीफ द सहाबा यूज्ड टू रिस्पोंड टू द प्रॉफिट सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम सेड लब्बैक। ये सियासी नारा नहीं, ये ईमानी नारा है, ये वफाई नारा है कि मोहम्मद से वफा तूने तो हम तेरे हैं। ये जहां चीज है क्या, लोहो कलम तेरे हैं। लब्बैक 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 या रसूल अल्लाह, लब्बैक लब्बैक या रसूल अल्लाह, लब्बैक लब्बैक। व मा अलैना इल्ला अल बलाग।